All right. So, hello everyone. I'm Daniel Hirschberger, and I'll be presenting a topic about EDRs, a moving story. But first off, who of you has to regularly deal with EDRs? Please raise your hand. Yeah, quite a few. Who of you thinks that EDRs are a useful tool? Also a few hands. Who of you thinks that sometimes the vendors are overselling their capabilities a bit and are over-promising, like they can't really deliver what they're promising? Also a few hands. And last question, who of you thinks that an EDR is an effective measure against an attacker who is already local administrator? No one? Okay, interesting. Anyway, if there were some hands, I'll convince you otherwise. So first of all, about me, I'm currently working at SecConsult, and I'm mainly doing Windows penetration testing, so penetration testing like Windows applications. But I also dabble in the occasional infrastructure project. I'm also curious about red teaming. And so I did a usual AppSec penetration test, but the customer was like, hey, here's a VDI Citrix machine, and also CrowdStrike stays on during the penetration test, so have fun with that. But we can give you a local administrator. And I think you can see where the story is going. So the test was going fine, but at some point I needed to access the machine account credentials from the machine. And then I had to get around CrowdStrike, because otherwise you can't get to them. And then two things happened. First of all, I found a way to dump the SAM security and system hives without CrowdStrike noticing. But how exactly, this will be a secret. But more importantly, what I'll be sharing today is I found a universal EDR deactivation if you have local administrative privileges. And as a pen tester, you just love the Microsoft Sysinternals, because what they're doing, they're a very useful toolbox, and they bring stuff with them like a better process explorer, and you can do many more stuff with that. And while scrolling through all the Sysinternals, I found some interesting ones called pend moves and movefile. And if you take a closer look at their description, you will see that it says that, yeah, there are some applications such as service packs and hotfixes which must replace files which are currently in use by the operating system. And obviously, Windows needs a way to get around this. And for that, they have the movefile API, which allows you to rename a file directly after boot before any services are started. And basically, as a hacker, you always think like, I have some goal I want to achieve. What is the stupidest way I can try to achieve it? And since we now know about the movefile API, my idea was, CrowdStrike is in the way. Why don't I just move it somewhere else directly after boot? And that's exactly what I did. So basically, you can just use the movefile utility, and then you can manually specify which files you want to move somewhere else. So for example, we just say movefile, please move program files CrowdStrike to C program files CrowdStrike _back. And while we're at it, also do the same for the kernel drivers and the kernel driver directory. And then you just reboot, and then you see, before you reboot, you see, yeah, CrowdStrike is on, it's getting in the way. You do a quick reboot, and you see, that looks different. I think CrowdStrike is out of the way, but now Defender's in the way, because it's the fallback antivirus solution. So what do we do now? Well, can we just disable Defender with the same stupid trick? So just use movefile, use it on the C program data, Microsoft Windows Defender path, move it to Defender _back. And the results are not very good, because if you try to do this with movefile, you see error, access denied. Please try running from elevated command prompt, which is funny, because we're already administrator. We can't really get higher except to system, but even then it doesn't work. So the question is, who or what is preventing us from moving Defender away? And then you take a closer look at the documentation of the movefile API, and you figure out that basically all it does is it writes to a registry key called pending file rename operations, which is located at the session manager registry hive. And when we emulate the thing that movefile does, you just write a registry key. You write like, hey, there's a path Windows Defender. Please move it to another path. And then we just set this thing in the registry. and then we can reboot, and this should be fine, right? Turns out it's not fine because something is getting in our way, and when we try to do this move, we get access denied. So we're stuck. And then you go back to the manual, and you see, oh, there's a bit of more text, and it says, the move and deletion operations are carried out in the exact same order they are specified. That sounds interesting. Can we use that? And the next stupid idea is, what if I move some stuff around? What if I move some more stuff around? And what if I move some other stuff back? So what we do is, we manually write the registry keys. We start by moving C program data Microsoft to C program data Microsoft back. Then inside this moved Microsoft back folder, we move the Defender folder to Defender back. And then we just move the whole underscore Microsoft back folder back to the original location. And this could work, right? And turns out it could. Does anyone notice something missing here? Well, the Microsoft Defender pane is just gone. Usually it's there, now it's not. And if you try to somehow get into the Windows Defender UI, you just get a message like, the page is not available. Your administrator might have disabled it. So with this, we have also bypassed Windows Defender. And while playing around with it, what I just did was very crude. I just moved the whole Defender folder away, and this might lead to some problems. So there's a softer way to move stuff around. It's basically the same trick, like move the parent folder away, then go into the Defender folder. But this time we just move interesting exes away, like MSMP engine, Defender core service, NAS service exe, and we just move them away. And this is a bit of a softer remove, because now the pane still works, and you can actually see that the thread service has stopped. And well, this is all fine. What we now have is there's a GitHub repository by me with the script called MoveEdr, which does exactly what you expect. It basically weaponizes this writing and deleting of the registry key. And how do you use it? Well, you just download the script. Then you can say, MoveEdr. I already hard-coded all the EDR paths I could get my hands on to actually verify them. But in case you want to move a new EDR array, you just say -custom paths. Then you just specify the original locations where the EDR is. And by default, it just moves them away to _back. And at the end, you can also play around with stuff like there's a custom prefix. You don't have to use _back. And since we're already overwriting a registry key, which might be used by Windows, by default, we already keep the entries which are already in there. But you have also the option to just ignore what's in there and overwrite it. And you can switch between the Defender hard move, like move the whole folder away, or just doing the soft one. And then you just specify -reboot at the end. It's optional. You can reboot immediately, you don't have to. And then you just do what you need to do on this machine. And afterwards, you just specify the whole long command again, except with the paths reversed. No, you don't. You just download the script again. You just copy-paste the old script in the just append -undo, and it basically performs all moves operations in reverse, and then you have restored the original system. And yeah, there are some backup slides. Since I have like 5 minutes remaining, I can go through them quickly. So while moving around and testing this, I was getting a bit desperate, and I tried what happens if I just move the whole Microsoft program data folder. Well, it went okay, the system booted, but then it just was in the login screen like forever. And if you know a bit about Procmon, you know that the bootlog is saved in some folder, which you can retrieve and then take a look at it. And what we see is that with this move operation, we just completely destroyed the program data Microsoft folder, or more or less Windows tries to recreate one. And also, if you take a look in detail, what are the last operations which are always performed in a loop, you'll see that some applications try to load the Microsoft Defender DLL called mpoab.dll. So this one seems important, because afterwards you have a boot loop, or a login loop. But what's weird is I can just move the whole Defender folder away, and this is okay, I don't get any issues. I can move all files inside the Defender folder to _back, and it still is fine. So there is something weird in the boot or bootstrap process, and I have no idea what exactly it is. And so, do you have any questions? No one. Right, then I have a question, because while playing around with a movefile, I found that I didn't have time to reverse the whole process with the session manager, who does the move when and so on. And if you had a close look at the Defender or the MoveEdr outputs, you see that sometimes there's like a *1 and a *2 prefixed before the object manager file path, but I have no idea what they're doing. And I tried to also move away Defender ATP, and while having this *1 prefix, but this no longer worked. So without any *1 or *2 prefix, it works completely fine. As soon as I add it, it doesn't work anymore. And yeah, with that, I'm basically done with my talk, and I'll move myself to the after party later. So if you want to join me, and you can also share the fun in moving stuff around, thanks for having me.